Moving right along. Let's talk about how to find the axis of symmetry and how to find the vertex. We're talking about 5.1.3, how to find the axis of symmetry and how to find the vertex. All right, here we go. Y equals x squared minus 10x plus 25. We want to be able to find the axis of symmetry. And the formula we're going to use is x equals negative b over 2a. Write that down. This formula you're going to do between now and the test approximately 1.1 million times. Okay? It needs to be burned into your memory. X equals negative b over 2a. Some people like saying opposite b. Write this down. Opposite b over 2a. And the reason why is because if b is negative, they come down and they say negative 10, and that's wrong. Right? This is saying negative b. Well, if b is negative 10, what should this be?
Positive.
It shouldn't be negative anymore. Right? So some people like to say opposite b over 2a so that they get this right. That should be opposite b. There's b. Right? In the earlier learning target, we could identify A, B, and C. That's no problem. Okay? Now, what's A in this problem? 1, so this is going to be 2 times 1. What is 10 divided by 2? 5. So the axis of symmetry of this parabola is x equals 5. That means, here's my graph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's an imaginary line that is vertical that cuts the parabola exactly in half. Okay? All right, the next learning target. Does this parabola open up or does it open down?
Up.
Why?
It's positive.
Because it's positive. Tell me what's positive. Because A is positive, this parabola opens what? It opens up. All right? So we're able to find the axis of symmetry. We know that the parabola is right here. We know that it's going to be opening up. It's going to look like this. How can we find the vertex? Without any help from me, how do you think, right? The vertex is an x and a y. Right? We need an x and a y. Well, we already know that x equals 5. We just found that x equals 5. How can we find the y of our vertex?
Sorry.
Huh? Outstanding answer. Who said that? Right here, I heard it. Who? Over here. Very good. Write it down. To find y, plug in x. To find y, plug in x. What does that mean? That means take this 5 that you found by doing negative b over 2a, take it and put it right there. Plug it in. We also have to plug it in right there. There's 2 x's in that quadratic. There's an x squared and an x. We got to plug it in both places. Okay? So plug it in to both places. I'm going to do it right here. Everybody watching. X equals 5. You have to know your order of operations. Write PEMDAS on your paper. What does PEMDAS stand for?
Like the order of operations.
Order of operations. Say it. Not so much in this case because we don't have a whole bunch of negatives going on. But when x is a negative number, you know, squaring a negative number, getting a positive number, you have to know your order of operations. Right? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You can't mix that up. Okay, what's negative 1 squared? Anybody? What's negative 1 squared? Positive 1. What's negative 3 squared? Positive 9. Right? What's negative 5 squared?
25.
25. That's what we're getting ready to do right here. No, x equals 5. So I'm taking a 5 and I'm plugging it in there and I'm plugging it in there. Okay, why? Because negative b over 2a equaled 5. X equaled 5. So I'm taking that and I'm plugging it in. So I suggest 5 in parentheses squared minus 10 times 5 in parentheses plus 25. Do that math in your head and tell me what you get. Work it out on your paper. Don't yell it out. But you ought to be able to solve this equation right here and get what y equals. Okay, using PEMDAS, using the order of operations. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. What do you get? Y equals what?
0.
Very good. Y equals 0. Why? Because that's 25 minus 50 plus 25. That equals 0. Everybody in here should be able to do that. Okay? Now, what does that tell me my vertex is at? We already knew that the x was 5. What's the y?
0.
The y is 0. So we'll go over here to my graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. There's my vertex at 5, 0. Okay, does the parabola open up or does it open down? It opens up. Right? The parabola opens up. Now guys, on day 1, we got a rough graph, a rough sketch of what our parabola looks like. Okay? All right, here, to sum it up, here's the 4 things that you ought to be able to do after today. Number 1, write these down. You ought to be able to find A, B, and C. You ought to be able to find A, B, and C. That's for number 1, A, B, and C. Quickly, accurately identify A, B, and C. When it's in standard form, you ought to be able to tell me A, B, and C. All right? Number 2, you ought to be able to tell me the direction of opening. Instantly. What tells you the direction of opening?
A.
A. If A is positive, it opens up. If A is negative, it opens down. Number 2, you ought to be able to tell me the direction of opening. If A is positive, it opens up. If A is negative, it opens down. All right, what's the 3rd thing you ought to be able to tell me? Abbreviated as AOS. What is it? Axis of symmetry. What tells me the axis of symmetry? It's this nice little formula that you need to memorize. What is it?
X equals negative.
X equals what? Negative B or opposite B over what? Over 2A. Then the last thing that you ought to be able to tell me is the vertex. You ought to be able to tell me the vertex of the parabola by finding X using negative B over 2A and then taking that and plugging it in to find Y. 4 is the vertex. You ought to be able to tell me the vertex of the parabola by plugging X in and finding Y. You already found X by doing the axis of symmetry. Okay? Alright, so here's a couple more examples. Y equals negative 2x minus 4x. I want A, B, and C. I want to know if the parabola opens up or if it opens down. I want to know the AOS, which is always X equals a number. And then I want to know the vertex. The vertex is always a coordinate like X, Y. Do that one. I don't want to get too far ahead. Do that one and we'll do one more. Don't know what to do, it's okay. This is just the second example. Just copy it down. I'm going to work it out here in just a second. All right, here we go. What does A equal? Negative 2. What does B equal? What does C equal?
0.
Okay, piece of cake. Does the parabola open up or does it open down? It opens down. Why? Because A is negative. Okay? That baby steps. right? You got to be able to do A, B, and C and tell me if it opens up or down, okay? Then the axis of symmetry and the vertex require us to immediately do negative b over 2a. I say negative b over 2a, you may want to say opposite b over 2a. Because if b is negative 4, and you're trying to do the negative of that, some students have trouble with that. Just say opposite b. Okay? If b is negative 4, then that's going to be positive 4. What's going to go on the bottom? What is a in this case? A is what?
X squared.
A is not x squared. A, B, and C are numbers. A is negative 2. A is negative 2. So when I take negative 2 and I put it right there, I'm going to have 2 times negative 2. What is 4 divided by 2 times negative 2? What does that become?
1.
Not 1. Negative 1. 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1. So our axis of symmetry, AOS, is x equals negative 1. If I had asked you to graph, I didn't, but there's our axis of symmetry. It's an imaginary line. X equals negative 1. It's right down the middle of the parabola. It breaks it up into 2 equal halves. Okay, questions? All right, what's the last step? How do we find the vertex? How do we find the vertex of this parabola? If I know that x equals negative 1, what's my key phrase? Three words. Plug it in. Take negative 1 and do what with it? Put it right there and put it right there. Take negative 1 and plug it in both those spots. Now students struggle with this. That's why I said PEMDAS. Watch. Y equals negative 2, negative 1 squared minus 4 times negative 1. You've got to know kind of to square first, then multiply. Okay? So this becomes, I'll do it step by step. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. So this is negative 2 times positive 1. And then this is plus 4. That gives you plus 4. This is negative 2 plus 4, which is 2. Y equals 2. On our vertex is negative 1, positive 2. Negative 1, positive 2. Now you may not have gotten positive 2 because you didn't do your order of operations correctly. Okay?
How was that?
Did I do something wrong?
How did you change it from negative 1 to 1?
Because negative 1 squared,
Okay.
negative 1 squared is positive 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. And I have to do exponents before I do multiplication. A lot of students want to square this. I'm sorry, a lot of students want to multiply and then square.
That's what I did.
Yeah, that's why I said PEMDAS, right? What comes first? Exponents or multiplication? Exponents. So we have to do this first before we do the multiplication. And if you're not rock solid on order of operations in PEMDAS, you're going to mess that up. And you're going to get 6 instead of 2, which is what I'm assuming you got. Is that right?
5.
Huh?
I got 5.
How? If you did that and you multiplied first, you would have got 2. 2 squared, oh, is 4. Okay, I see. 4, but then 4 plus 4 is 8, not 6.
Where it says negative 2 plus 4, I got 1 plus 4.
Okay, I don't know. You've got to be able to do this correctly. Okay, correctly. We'll work on it. All right, so the vertex is at negative 1, positive 2, negative 1, positive 2, and it opens down. Guys, that is a rough sketch, and 90% of the time, that's all you're going to need is a rough sketch, guys. And we did this on the first day of graphing quadratics. Okay? Now, today, we're not learning anything new. The rest of the period. Tomorrow, we're not going to learn anything new. We're going to practice on these 4 things. Okay? Are there any questions?